Hello, my name is Carol Sandoval, and I will be answering the questions that were provided. The first question asked, who were you as a leader at the beginning of the applied major coursework? First and foremost, I was a bit skeptical that I would be able to complete this program due to the rigorous schedule. And just to provide you a little background about myself, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a full-time employee for a community college, and I was also becoming a full-time student. I take care of my mother as well. She's disabled. So I had a lot on my plate and I just felt a little bit overwhelmed. At the same time, I felt that if I never, challenged myself to complete my bachelor's degree, I was never going to do it because there was always going to be um, a challenge that was going to come up and try to hinder for me pursuing my education. So I went ahead and made the decision to continue my education and join this program, which I believe has been the best decision I've made. I am very excited. I am so proud that I'm very close to completing this program. And looking back, I can't even explain how rewarding and how humbling of an experience it has been, and this journey has been for me. At the beginning of the applied major coursework, I was put in a leadership role here in my place of employment. Just with a little bit of knowledge in the disability services area, I was put in as a supervisor because the college, just a little bit of background, our university and college separated, so the college was standing on its own, and we were like brand new in a sense. We're opening our doors again as a community college, and I took the initiative to start developing the Office of Disability Services, and brand do with nothing, like nothing in the aspect of materials, furniture. Pretty much we lacked everything that you can think of to run an office, but that didn't stop us. We continued to work forward, come up with forms that were needed for the office, appointment cards, starting setting up our labs for our disability students to use when they were take exams or used to do homework. At that time, I believe we only had maybe 5 functioning computers. We didn't have telephones yet in our office, so it was very challenging. And then being in a supervisor role, in a leadership role, it was extremely challenging because I worked with a lot of coworkers that we had worked in the past together, so it was kind of that friendship that was kind of difficult to separate friendship from supervisor, so that was challenging as well. But I'm very fortunate that at the same time I did start taking these classes, and I can honestly say have helped me a great deal to be able to manage a supervisor role and to learn, and the knowledge that I acquired, I was able to apply it at my job. So it was perfect timing for me to have decided to take this organizational leadership courses while I myself was in a leadership role. Um, a lot of my coworkers always refer to me as a nice person, and if you ask them, oh, Carol's such a nice person, she has a huge heart, she's very giving. So I believe myself to I always try to help others in any service that I can. I try to give it my all to help them out so they can be successful. And sometimes that's not a very good thing to be a nice person in a leadership role. And the reason I say that is because people will take advantage of that. Sometimes they will not respect you as a leader if you're lenient. If, for example, I would put deadlines for certain projects or reports, and they miss the deadline project because they would think, oh, it's okay, she'll take, if we send it next week. So it was a challenge for me to step out of that role of being a nice person and become a leader, become a successful leader, become a respected leader. Not a mean leader, but a respected leader, which is different. And that's where I was when I first started these courses. That's where I was in my life at that time, trying to juggle this leadership role that I didn't know very well how to be a leader. I'm not saying that I did a terrible job, but I did lack the knowledge aspect of being a leader. I had a little bit of experience, but I did lack the ethics, the knowledge of being an effective leader. So that was where I was when I first started these courses. And like I just mentioned, I'm very grateful that I did take these courses because it helped me a great deal. What did you learn as you were completing each class? Okay. Upon completion of each class, I did learn a lot of concepts, different concepts. I learned the logistics of an organization. With the first class that I took, which was my issues in organizational leadership, right away that intro class offered me a great insight of the logistics of my organization where I work at, the community college, and how it's set up. I looked right away online for the organizational chart. I got familiar with it. Our institution works, everybody has to be geared or aligned their work to go towards our mission, and that's what I did right away. I knew our mission, and I just didn't know yet like the dynamics of our organization, which I did come to learn because of this class. And a lot of the material that I was learning, for example, I have to develop the institutional effectiveness plan for our office, and that helped me, the knowledge helped me how to make a successful plan, what was working for us, what wasn't working for us, what were our goals for the next 2 years, what did we hope to obtain in the next 2 years. So all this management from our organization, I learned, how our management is set up, how it goes from the board of trustees to the president, to the vice president, to the associate VPs, to the directors, coordinators, staff, etc. So how it just trickles down, and how all of us, like a pyramid, are working towards the common goal, or in our case, our mission, or our institution's mission, and how everybody's work has to be aligned with our mission. So the intro class helped me a great deal regarding how to develop my IEPs for our office. So that helped a lot. And like I mentioned, in a leadership role that I was at the same time when I was taking these classes, it helped me a lot because I have to do reports, I have to try to see how to get more student recruitment, what have we been doing in the past, what can we do now to get more student recruitment in our office, which was very new. I had to develop so many procedures and forms, and we do intakes, student intakes, so procedures for student intake. We had to learn how to be the ethical part of dealing with someone that has a disability. I had to learn so many things. I work with parents on a daily basis, so that's challenging as well. So all these classes help me with the ethics, how to deal with every situation as I face every situation. I know how to handle, how to stay in control, how to look at everything, before I make a decision. How do I come up with an agreement that it's gonna work best for all of us, and the ethical part, like what is the best and the right thing to do. That's always stayed with me from the case studies that we had to do. It's stuck to me. I'll always be ethical, always do the right thing, regardless if it's gonna hurt our office, our department, but if it's the right thing to do, to always do that, to be ethical. And I have learned to be a more efficient leader. I am more willing to speak up when needed. I'm more understanding as well. I don't believe there is a right way or wrong way to be a leader, but I've had different leaders in the past. I had one supervisor who was always willing to help you, but at the same time, always wanted to know what you were doing, didn't have that trust for, her employees to say or to be confident that, okay, I've already told them to do this, now let me back off and see what happens, but always wanted to know step by step, kind of micromanaging. And I've also worked with another leader, another supervisor who is, what you're supposed to do, I'm here if you need help, but now you go ahead, go ahead, show me what you can do, what you can perform, and was confident in our staff. So as a leader, I like that. I like when a supervisor is confident in their staff. And if you're a great leader, you don't have to be on top of your staff 110% all the time, wanting to know what are you doing step by step by step by step, because that also hurts the staff. It makes the staff not feel that they're valuable, that they know what they're doing, and you're not always going to be there. There are times that I have to step out, and I am confident that the staff that is in the office is able to run the office smoothly with or without me, and that is the way that it should be. So these classes have taught me a great amount of knowledge that I've been able to apply, that I've seen that I've grown professionally, that I've seen that I've applied to my job, that I've applied in my office in the department that I work for, and that also other people have noticed as well. So I am very grateful for everything that I have learned. And to be an understanding and reasonable leader, and that's a big one for me, because as a leader you have to be your staff, everybody has problems, everybody has a life. Like I mentioned a little brief background around about myself and who I am. I'm not going to come to my place of employment and tell every single one, hey, this is what I'm going through every single day. It's just so they can be sympathetic. But at the same time, I don't need to tell people, but when I do need time off from work, or my employee needs to, maybe this employee can come in early, but this employee can't because they have little children who they take to school, or this employee is able to work Saturdays and Sundays because it's fine, and this other employee can't because they're a single parent. So it's always very good as a leader to be understanding of your staff, of your employees, to, we all have a life outside of our jobs. Even though we spend the majority of our time with our coworkers, everybody does have a life outside of the place of employment, and everybody has something that they're going through, and we need to be understanding and try to, I'm a big believer that the more you do for your employees, that they're going to want to do even more for their supervisor, for their department, for their office. So these classes have taught me a lot about being an understanding leader, to see what works for what, and not to have like a cookie cutter kind of supervisor, a cookie cutter thinking that all the staff is the same, and what works for one staff member is going to work for the other staff member. No, that's not how it works. Everybody is different, and what works for one person might not work for the next employee. So you can't have that mentality of a cookie cutter staff member that everybody's going to be the same, and that's how you're going to be a leader, and just what works for one, everybody's going to be across the board. It doesn't work that way. So it's given me a lot of insight on that as well, in regards to that. And as a leader, where do I go from here? As a leader, I can say that I do plan, to move on up and put my knowledge to good use. I'm confident that I have developed in the role as a leader, not only through experience, but also through the knowledge that I have acquired in these courses, in my organizational leadership courses. And now I can put all the information, all the data that I have learned, and to back up my decisions. And that's a big thing for me, because before I would say I could make decisions on a gut feeling or an estimated guess, but it doesn't work that way. I've learned that you are more credible, you hold more credibility when you are able to put the data forth and say, hey, this is what I researched this is what I got, this is the numbers that I'm getting, I ran this report. You're more credible that way. Your supervisor are going to look at you, they're going to be impressed and say, hey, she did her homework. They're going to be more confident to support your idea, to support a plan that you may have. You're going to have their support, rather than you say, well, it worked last time, from my experience, I think it'll work again. or I have a gut feeling that this will work better than that, they're not going to want to invest in a project if it's just an educated guess. So I'm very grateful for the data-driven decision-making course, even though it was very challenging for me. I am very thankful at the same time, because it helped me learn how to run reports, how to even though this class was more like products and it talked about different companies. We're geared towards students, and our population is students, and we want to recruit students. Our goal is to have a high enrollment and our services with students. But I'm able to apply it to the institution that I work for. So I was very grateful because I learned to do all that, and as also because a lot of these I sit in meetings all the time, and sometimes they're talking about this and that, and in the beginning I didn't know or have a clue what they were talking about, but now I can honestly say that I can join and conversate with my other with directors or coordinators, and I remember sitting there and hearing when they're talking about these plans and these reports, SWOT analysis, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like a huge light bulb went off and said, I know what they're talking about, I know what they mean, because I've done one, like I've actually performed a SWOT analysis, a report, and so I'm able, and then they're impressed, they're really impressed of all the work that I've done and of all the material that I've been learning, because I apply it and they see when I apply it in my work here in the institution that I work for. So I'm very grateful for that.